Ahead of Independence Day, arms have been seized in Manipur, where a high number of weapons continue to be in the hands of civilians. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. The Manipur turmoil has now entered its fourth month. The Home Minister is at the front line of efforts to try and bring about some reconciliation. In Delhi, he has met with the Meira Paibis, the women leaders of the Meitei community that have been at the front line of the protest, sometimes even facing off with army units. In fact, we have reported on how women from the Meitei community have on occasion asked soldiers to show proof of their ID. 40 legislators have also asked for the Assam rifles to be replaced in the state. The army has reacted sharply. Former heads of the Assam rifles have told Mojo story that they're pain and anguish to see the army being targeted in this way. Now, on our previous program, you heard from members of the Kuki community, tribal leaders on their meeting with Amit Shah. Today, we'll be speaking to an army veteran and a key leader of the Meitei community in Manipur. Let's welcome our guest on the program today. We're pleased to welcome to this program Colonel Lokendra Singh. He's, of course, a military veteran, but he's also the working president of the panel of the Meitei community that has been asking for scheduled tribe status for the community. Remember, one of the fault lines in this entire strife has been an order from the High Court that actually suggested that this status should be given, leading to a full-blown collision, as it were, between the two communities. We have spent an entire week on the ground in Manipur, and people on both sides, farmers, youngsters, school-going students, are today armed with weapons and guns that they should not have. Welcome, sir, to the program, and thank you for talking to us. Let me start by asking you whether you think things are getting any better or the crisis is just the same.
Ma'am, there is a slight peace after what transpired in the parliament a couple of days ago, but that is not really much on the ground. To translate what happened in the parliament to what is happening on the ground, there is not really nothing much is happening on the ground, I should say. But hopefully, the peace has started and it should continue for a while. But point here is peace has to be brought by understanding the feelings between the two communities. The present peace is peace with the presence of the army. The army can give peace temporarily for a while, a day to maybe a couple of days at the most. Now, the understanding between the two communities, the Meitei community and the Kuki community, Chin Kuki communities, that needs to be established. Unless that is established, you're picking up a few rifles or a few weapons from here, some coming, it will make no difference whatsoever. What stops the people from taking another set of weapons from another place? Unless you address the issue at the core level as to why were their weapons taken? What was the circumstances that forced the youngsters, the Meiteis and the Kukis, both I would say, to take to arms? Why? What happened? What was the reason? What was the atmosphere created at that point of time on 3rd and 4th? And why is it prolonging so long? And why is the government of India not able to bring about I'll call it a piece of the real nature? It's only a
Yes.
temporary means of doing it by putting army and 36,000 of central security forces in the valley area. I hope
Yes.
you're getting my point, ma'am.
I am. And I want to share with you, sir, that as you said, civilians from both sides are armed, right? So whether it is members, farmers from the Meitei community, we spent a night with them in a village in Manipur. There are those pictures that we're playing for you. And these are paddy farmers today. They're carrying guns in fortified bunkers. Or whether on the other side, in the Kuki community, we met with school-going students, in class 12 and class 11, who had guns. So you're absolutely right. But let me ask you this. There has been some sort of thought that if there were to be president's rule, it would be a beginning. But this too has been a very divisive sort of subject, a polarizing subject. Do you believe the state government today has the authority to control the situation, or do you believe the state needs president's rule?
I believe that nothing has been done to control this situation. 3 months have passed. This is the fourth month going on. And whether it is the state government or the central government, they both have not done anything on the ground. That's what I would say. They could have handled the issue on the first week of when the problem started. That nobody did. The state did not do it. The center did not interfere. Center was busy with the Karnataka assembly on 10th of May. Therefore, they did nothing about it. They just sent a few central armed police forces and the army here to the Imphal. And that was all that the government did. And what? Thereafter, there was, after a month, I'll call it almost a month, that here people were waiting. The Amit Shah ji will be coming. Once he comes, things will be sorted out. Everything will be settled once it. So people waited for the home minister to come to Imphal. And he came after 1 month on 29th of May. And you know something? When he came to Imphal, he halted at Guwahati on 28th. And he spent 24 hours in Guwahati for some sundry party business of distributing, I think, some appointment letters or something of that sort. The 100 odd people having been killed and died, and houses having burned, the villages destroyed, devastated. That was of no consequence, of no meaning to the home minister, who could spend one night for some party sundry job at Guwahati and not look at the problem in Manipur. What happened thereafter? He came, spent three days with us. He talked to everyone, and in his very presence, problem was what escalated further. And he promised he would come back after 10 days. To the Meiteis, he promised he'll come back after 10 days. I won't say promise, but he said that he'll come back after 10 days to the Meiteis. And to the Kukis, he said he'll come after 15 days. There was no sign of the home minister, either 10 days or 15 days. Then there was nothing, except when the things went out of hands and it was in the parliament.
Yes.
So I would say, no, please, ma'am, just take my point, that don't blame it on the state, don't blame it on the center alone. I will call it there is total failure from both sides.
Right.
How can you allow this commotion to allow for more than 3 months now? It is 3.5 months, 4 months getting on to. There has to be some sanity at the government level.
Yes, and I will ask you what you think the way forward is. But as an army man and as a military veteran, sir, how do you respond to the fact that 40 legislators have asked for the Assam rifles to be replaced? And, we have reported women, and we have that video stopping soldiers on the highway that connects Imphal to, let's say, Churachandpur, and say, show us your ID, and allowing the passage. If we can play those pictures, please, and allowing the passage of the soldiers only on the basis of their Aadhaar card indicating their community. Now, as a military veteran, I'm sure you don't like to see this happening.
I will call that a total shame on the part of the army person, me included. It's a shame that we should be checked, that our integrity should be checked by the civilians. That means we have gone wrong somewhere. Ma'am, you'll have to take note of this. People will not do it just for the heck of it, or somebody instigating to do that. There's something had gone wrong somewhere. That's up to the army and the Assam Rifle to look inwards and find out what went wrong. I, as a part of the armed forces, I've served both in the army and the Assam Rifle, and I feel ashamed to be linked up with this. If you allow me, I would go and चुल्लू भर के पानी में डूब के मर जाऊंगे. This is the situation. That means that atmosphere was created somehow or the other, and that they were checked. But there is one thing very beautiful about it. That is the beauty of democracy in India, that the civilians are checking the army personnel for identity cards or the identity of the person. That is the only plus point I can see. Other than that, they must look inwards and find out.
But can you imagine what the soldier is feeling? The soldier who's being checked. Can you imagine how much anguish and pain he must be feeling? You have served with the rifles.
Certainly. I fully agree with you. But unless something they have done wrong somewhere by some people, someplace, I mean, the people will not be coming out to check them unless something had gone wrong somewhere.
Hmm.
I mean, I cannot pinpoint as to what they did this on that day and they did that on that day. That is for the army and the service to find out what whose officer or the law.
You don't think the army is being unfairly targeted?
Uh, I know. Say, look, the army has been put here as the peacekeeping force. They
Yes.
are dealing with the civilian people, right? And the army, as such, they have to be dealing with both the parties, that side and this side. That means the Kuki side and the Meitei side. And the situation here is now, you have been to the location, you know it. I'll come to a point. For example, there is the buffer zone. What is the buffer zone? What we have created here. Buffer zone is the place, for example, when you're going towards Rachanpur from Imphal and you come across a place called Phowak Chau, from there, the three villages, Torbong Bangla, Kangwai, three villages which have been devastated, spreading over a kilometer of 2.5 to 3 kilometers. That has been created as what's called the buffer zone, right? You must have seen that when you were here. So
Yes.
the Meitei lot with the police people are on this side, the army and everybody on this side. Similarly, there are the Assam Rifle and army on the other side, on the hillside, with the weapons pointing out from the bunkers. Assam Rifles on one side, the army perhaps nearby. Right. Now I'll give a situation. When the guns pointing out from the bunkers start firing, they start firing. The police from this side retaliate by firing. And this is reported as when the police people are firing back, right, protecting the village. It says Biren and his state police is creating atrocities against the cookies. That is the report given coming out from the cookie media manager side, right? And once the firing starts, the Assam Rifles on either side do nothing about it. And when the people from the valley side, they try and retaliate, they stop not to do it. But what is being fired from that end, there is no stoppage to it.
But may I just say, as somebody who spent a life following the army has had to issue two unprecedented statements, and the army points out that hundreds of thousands of people have been brought to safety by the army. The army continues to patrol, try and establish a bridge between both communities, and the army says we will operate without fear and favor. And I know that you as a soldier would recognize that to be the Fauji culture, the Fauji ethos. Let me ask you this, Colonel Lokendra Singh, without getting into an argument about the army, which I think is not good for our national security. My question to you is: what did you feel when you watched the no confidence debate in Parliament?
Come there again. What?
What did
The
you
no
feel when you yes? What did you feel about the debate when you watched it in Parliament?
When I watched the debate in Parliament, the
Yes,
the uh, uh, the opposition leaders, they were here a day before that, and I had also had the privilege of meeting them.
yes.
The prime concern was that the no confidence motion was brought up so that the prime minister comes down to the parliament and says something on the issue of the Manipur, right? And and that's what we all expected, that the government is going to follow. It was not the issue. The issue was Manipur's issue. And when the opposition leaders wanted the prime minister to hear about Manipur, he carried on talking for an hour plus. There was no mention of Manipur in that. I too was watching the TV on that day. I was hoping he would say something positive. He only narrated stories after stories, right? And finally, with God's, I think, blessings, he mentioned about Manipur, and that he's very concerned about it, and that they will ensure that the pieces will be returning to Manipur, that the Home Minister has spoken in detail about Manipur, but he did not mention any concrete steps to be taken to normalize the issue that hurt me and hurt everyone else. That's
So
my
you were
take on the
hurt.
parliament.
You were disappointed by what you
I
heard
was
in Parliament.
disappointed, badly disappointed, not just disappointed. Talking in general terms is different from what specific actions to be taken, specific instructions to the government of Manipur, if there is a government here, that they should do this and they should do that. There was nothing on that sort. That he's going to do this or he's going to do that. There was nothing. Everything was in general terms. And situation is lingering on as it is, as it was 3 months earlier. After the parliament, it is still lingering on as it is. There is no change in it. It is just that the forces are there on either side, and the people are not able to fire at each other. I'll call that.
Yes.
They're not able
Yes.
to fire at each other for reason, whatever the reason. Once the army or the Sun People looks the other way, and I'm sure somebody is going to firing from the hills, the valley, and everything will fly. That's why I said the peace has to come from the community to the community,
So
not
let's
through
talk
the
about
barrel of the gun.
let's talk about looking ahead. You are the working president of a panel of a committee that is asking for scheduled tribe status for the Meitei people. This has been a flashpoint because the court suggested that this should happen, and many people in Delhi in government believe that that was one of the reasons for the clashes. Why do you believe that the Meitei community should have scheduled tribe status?
Look, ma'am, there are two things involved in your question. One is why, and that it was the flashpoint. Now, let me first come up with the flashpoint part. It'll be wrong to term it as a flashpoint. When they carried out the so-called peace march all over the tribal districts, including districts in the Naga-dominated districts and the Kuki-dominated districts. It was all peaceful. Only towards the end, the peace march became a procession with AK wielding people from Churachandpur for 10 kilometers onto the Meitei, nearest Meitei village. So that part onwards, it was not a peace march, but a procession with armed weapons. So things went off from that point onwards. Right now, let's keep that as it is. Now, coming to the point of demanding for scheduled tribe. Now, I as a Meitei tribe, I am a Meitei tribe, but I have been categorized wrongly as an unscheduled tribe. Now, we are living in a place called Manipur with 10% of the valley area unprotected and 90% of the hill area or the mountain area is under protection and they have been given the scheduled tribe status, which is a constitutional and administrative categorization for a group of people. So the hill people, the land in the hills are protected. The people are generally protected as per the schedule, right? Only the 10% of the valley area is unprotected. And in that valley area, more than 60% plus people reside in it. That includes all the people from the hills, the Meiteis, the Muslim lot, the people from the mainland India, and everyone else resides into it. Now, over a period of time, like 1951, the population percentage of the Meiteis in 1951 census was 59% of Manipur's population. As per 2011 census, it has come down to 44%. And we have been saying that the Meiteis are going to get extinct sooner or later if we continue without some protection. Right, that is one point. And the land that we don't have a land as such. It's barely 1,790 square kilometers, less than 1/4 of a district of Bihar. You've been here, you know it, how small the valley. When you are flying down, you could have seen the entire valley from the plane. That's not even half the size of a district of Bihar. It's a very small place with entire population, what you call concentrated in that area. Now, as a result, over a period of time, we Meiteis are barely 14 lakhs as compared to 140 crores of the total Indian population. We are barely 0.1% of India's population, right? And now that we have been reduced from 59% to 44%, and I don't know how much is the reduction in the 2021 census. So over a few decades hence, the Meiteis would have gone almost extinct from the valley unless the land is protected and they are allowed to stay in their protected land. So the idea is that the small valley area, 1,790 square kilometers, be also given protection as given in the 90% of the state in the hills. so that Meiteis can continue to survive in their ancestral land. That is the main issue for the demand for scheduled tribe inclusion into the scheduled tribe list of the Meiteis. That
Can
is
you
the main.
can you explain something to me? By official records, even when there is talk of influx from Myanmar into Manipur, the number, please correct me, post 2021, the Assam Rifles' own report says 2,000. It's 45,000 or 40,000 plus into Mizoram, but 2,000. Why do you believe this influx, which is not giant, is going to change your population as a percentage? Why do you believe the Meiteis face any danger of extinction when you are the majority population? You account for more than 50%. You say that number has come down. Why do you feel threatened demographically?
We are not more than 50. I just mentioned I'm 44%. Meiteis are 44%. That 50 plus percent is including the Muslim population, which is not
Right,
a part of the Meitei population, right? So we
right.
are about 44 and they are about 8%. That makes about 52% all told together between Meiteis and the Muslim people, right? That is the this thing. Now, if you believe that there only has been 2,000 something plus
I don't.
infiltrate.
I don't believe. I'm only quoting from what I'm reading. I
Okay,
am
that
not.
is one. That is
Yeah.
one report. That is one
Yes.
report. Okay.
Yes.
Now let's look. Let's give it a study on that issue. The adjoining Mizoram, like you said, about 40,000 plus have already entered. You know the difference between adjoining Mizoram and Manipur is that in Mizoram they have a homogeneous society of all the Kuki-Chin Mizo people. They are a satisfied lot. They have a very nice and comfortable social norms, and they do not actually want people coming from Myanmar to be coming and settling with them. They may be their kith and kin. So therefore, the Young Mizo Association (YMA) they have taken it upon themselves to check all the infiltrators and put them into respective camps with what, with temporary identity cards, so that they can identify them and they can live there and they can do whatever they have to do and return to Myanmar as and when the situation improves. They've been identified and kept 40,000 plus, as you just said. Now
Yeah,
that is
but that's to Mizoram. That is to
that is
Mizoram,
Mizoram. I'm
right?
saying I'm
Yes.
comparing. Just look. That is Mizoram. I'll say that again. It's it's a homogeneous community of Kuki-Chin Mizo people, and they're having a very satisfied life over there. And it's a small state, much smaller than Manipur. And so many people have taken refuge there, despite they are stopping them and putting them into camps. Now look at Manipur. The borders are open, right? 100 odd kilometers must be there, the adjoining between Myanmar and the portion where we are bordering with the Kuki-Chin Mizo people from the Myanmar side. It's all open, porous border. Initially, when the when the influx took place after the civil war in Myanmar in February, when the influx took place, the state government tried to put them into camps, etc. They were instructed not to put them in any camp but push them back, right? That means thereafter there was no effort from government side physically that we could see. Either they have been checking the coming in or they're pushing them out. There was nothing. But Mizoram said no. Whether the government of India has signed the refugee protocol or not, they will keep the refugees, check them, control them, keep them, and put them back. But whereas they continued with the influx, and nobody knew how many have come and how many have gone. In a small state like Mizoram, if 40 have gone, then I would put the figure at not less than half a lakh would have gone into Manipur, unaccounted for. Unaccounted for. That was it. See, and that is there is the official number of 2,000 plus that has been given. That has been just one report. But what happened to it before that and after that? Even today, I'll say how many did what intrude or come into Manipur on the Kuki dominated areas today? That is the question. Does anybody know about it? Nobody knows about it, and nobody's interested either. They keep going, except their own kith and kin. They are being from the same bloodline. So except
Okay.
for them, nobody else
But do
takes
you,
interest.
but can I ask you something? You are a soldier. You have obviously served with your Kuki brothers in the army. You are aware that the husband of one of the victims on the Manipur viral video was an army veteran of 28 years. When the Meiteis carry placards saying, Kuki terrorists go back, Kuki infiltrators go back, do you think that's fair? Do you think it's fair to look at the whole community as
No,
infiltrators?
no, no, ma'am, you're wrong. You're not
I,
looking at the whole
I'm only
community.
asking the question. I'm only
No, no,
asking the
no.
question.
In any community, nobody 100% cannot be bad. 100% cannot be good. We talk about cookie terrorists. Out of the population, there must be a few who are terrorists. There must be a few who are wielding weapons and shooting on the. Why you call them? Why are we calling them terrorists? Why not militants? Now, do you use the word called terrorist? Let us identify the difference between terrorist and a militant. We term them as cookie militants, most of us, but they have also been termed as cookie militants, terrorists. When you terrorize people for some for some reason or the other, you're shooting on unarmed men, women, and children. You're coming and killing people when they're asleep in their bed. When you're shooting at people who have come for farming, there is not, I mean that they're not in any way harming those people with the guns in the hills. But when you're shooting at unarmed people, women, children included, and particularly when they're asleep, they cannot be called militants. They have turned into terrorists. So
But,
therefore,
sir,
everyone cannot be terrorists. No, ma'am, this is a wrong nomenclature. In
but
any community, for that matter,
in these 3 months, both people from both communities have suffered, right? Women have suffered, children have suffered, men have been killed, parents have lost their daughters, women have been paraded naked. The tribal people say they can't come to Imphal to take the bodies of their dead back home. I met with the parents of two women who used to work at a car wash in Imphal. I met with another man who was a Ramakrishna school attendant. He worked in Imphal. His 84-year-old mother is killed. What I'm trying to say is people, both communities have suffered. Now, I want to ask you, what is the way ahead? What is the way ahead? Name calling each other is not the way ahead. We would agree with that, right? Calling each
no.
other's names, doubting each other's patriotism, doubting each other's humanism is not going to solve the problem. What is going to solve the problem?
The issue is, ma'am, we must look at the core issue and how it happened and what is happening now. The core issue, I will, from my point of view, it is the cookie militants fight against the Manipur state government for the action that the government took as regards a number of government government schemes. So it basically is the fight of the cookie militants against the Manipur state government. Somewhere in between, the people got involved. Right. Once the Meiteis on 3rd of May afternoon, after the peaceful procession, peaceful that march turned into a weaponized procession, and the people was pushed out from N block after shooting a couple of them from Churachandpur, which which caused retaliation from the valley people to the hills. So it went on as a kind of a ethnic problem. But to me, it is not an ethnic problem whatsoever. There are people on their side, on Kuki side and Meitei side, who still talk to phone to talk to each other, and they ask for each other's halchal. You take it from me, it's a fact of life. It is only at some point the leaders who are orchestrating this problem in Churachandpur side, the government on this side. Look, the Meiteis uh, picking up arms, taking from this police station. Why would a youth, they go and rob or raid a police station and take arms? Because the central forces, the state forces, could not prevent their houses being burned, their villages being devastated. They could not save their own people by the state and the central forces. So they took it
Let
upon
me
themselves to grab the weapons and
let me
protect themselves.
let me ask you this. I'm aware that there are weapons in the hands of civilians, that armories are being looted. I saw this with my own eyes, where the police had to at one point open tear gas to stop a new assault from happening while I was there. My question to you is this, sir. The tribal leaders, the Kuki tribal leaders, they claim that the central government and the Kuki insurgent groups that had suspended operations, the Kuki Sioux groups, as you are aware, they had reached a agreement that was going to give an autonomous territorial council to the Kuki people, And this was going to be announced on the 8th of May. This is what their leaders are telling us. And suddenly the violence erupted and nothing could happen. Do you see this as a flashpoint, that the fact that the Modi government at the center and the Kuki insurgent groups, the Sioux groups that have suspended operations, had reached an agreement, a peace accord? Do you think this was a flashpoint? Because of course the chief minister was opposed to this peace accord.
Because what now that what things have turned out, that what happened on third, it was a planned affair, is what we all have come to understanding now. And what happened from Meitei side, it was an emotional outburst of the people, public, for what was done to their people, to their villages, to their worship places, was done in Churachandpur on the afternoon and evening of 3rd of May. So it was a response, it was an emotional outburst from the Meitei side on the third night and fourth. But the emotional outburst, sanity returned and there was no more emotional outburst. So thereafter, it has been a problem between the Kuki militants on that side.
But do you think this impending peace accord? Do you think this impending peace accord that the chief minister was opposed to was also a factor?
No, no. I don't think that's so. That is I think that's made up. There is no connection between that. What happened
Okay.
on the third? What happened on third in Churachandpur, and what retaliation that took place on fourth in Imphal? There can be no connection with this. This was an emotional outburst from the people, from the public of the Meiteis on fourth, after what happened on third evening and third night in Churachandpur. So there can be no connection between this and what happened on ground.
Okay, here's my question, because of course, as I say, from my observation is that the people, ordinary people, are suffering in both communities. We are entering fourth month of this crisis. Civilians should not have arms, farmers should not carry guns, students should not carry guns, police armories should not be looted. Now, my question to you is, if the division is so deep, do you believe a separate administration, as the Kuki people are asking for, is inevitable as a means to proceed ahead? Is that the solution?
No, it is not. We have lived together for centuries as one. We have worked together, lived together. We have joined their festival. They have joined our festival. There was no difference from our side. From none of us had any kind of a difference with them. It is that something happened on that day because some leaders orchestrated something for their vested agenda at some point of time. We as people, as Meiteis and Kukis, I'm saying it again, there are people who are calling up on mobile phones asking for the halchal of their counterparts in Kuki area. Right? To the common people, there is no difference even now. We still say that we were there together for centuries, living as one people, and there is no difference now also. The only problem is some leaders on that side, and perhaps the government on this side, they are not seeing eye to what's happening, right? And if it helps you in your analysis, there is something called Kuki homeland, which they have with the Kuki Chin people have been striving for the last 3 to 4 decades minimum, right? That is something, that Kuki homeland is a something in the psyche, deep-seated psyche of the Kuki people. That's okay, perfectly fine. That's all right. But my point of saying is that now, if we are to live together, then the militancy has to stop, right? And it is not difficult. I still say the issue is between the Kuki militants and the government of Manipur. The public has no role anywhere as such. So my suggestion, whether people like it or not, is that when ITLF leaders were called on 5th, I think on 5th of this month, to MHA, and they had a talk with the Honorable Home Minister Amit Shahji. He told them not to carry out burial in the site where they were planning to carry out burial, and they listened. If Amit Shah can tell them to not do something and they're listening to it, why can't he tell his Kuki militants who are under suspension operation to abjure violence? Go back to your camp,
And
take your
and
weapons back, And once the threat of the gun-wielding people from the hills stop, these people who have grabbed their arms, they'll return it to the state.
Okay,
The weapon on this side is redundant. There
let
is
me
no,
ask you.
no.
Let me ask you this. It's a very polarizing conversation. We speak to someone from the Kuki community. They have as much passion and force with very different set of arguments. Let me ask you this. If you had 2 minutes with the Prime Minister, you said you're waiting for him to give concrete solutions. If you had 2 minutes with the Prime Minister face to face, what would you say to him?
I'll ask him to stop the violence. That's one
How?
thing. Once to
How?
stop the, that's what I just said. The Sioux people who are armed and living in the bunkers, waiting to shoot on this side. If they are told to go back to their barracks, if the threat of the guns being fired from the hills to the valley is not there anymore, there is no reason for why should anybody go and grab a weapon from a police station. So all these weapons on the valley side will become redundant. I'll say that again. The weapons taken out from the police station will become redundant, and they will gladly return it back to the police wherever they have got it from the police station.
Do you
Right.
think the Meitei community will welcome back the Kuki people into Imphal? There's a problem, right? You know that the tribals can't enter the non-tribal areas, the non-tribals can't enter the tribal areas. Both sides believe if we go into the other's territory, we'll be killed.
That's why I said in the beginning, in the beginning of this, when you talked about peace, I said the peace is temporary through the barrel of the gun. The peace has to come between the two people, communities, the Meiteis and the Kukis. It has to come from them. So you made a point that they are afraid of coming this side, and the Meiteis are afraid of going towards the
Yes.
Kuki area.
Yes.
So this has to be, the hurt feeling on both sides has to be assuaged by someone at some point of time. Until that is assuaged, no amount of peace brought by 36,000 Central Paramilitary Force and the army is going to work out. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. Can you say what's going to happen tonight? I don't know. Nobody knows. Somebody does a spark somewhere and hell will be let loose. Maybe today, tomorrow, day after, a few days hence. Because that healing process of the feelings from both sides is not there. That has to be done by the Prime Minister, if not the Home Minister. I'll say that. When there are two warring factions, you call the warring factions, the third person should mediate, and the Prime Minister or the Home Minister are the best people on the job. They should call the people from this side and those people who matter and say, you stop this nonsense. And first let there be peace. And since every demand is a constitutional demand which can be worked out and which has to be worked out across the table, so please bring peace as the first step towards settling any issue constitutionally or otherwise.
Yeah,
So
I think
bring peace first.
I think we can end on that note of agreement. That's something I think both communities would agree on. The Prime Minister's initiative is needed. The Prime Minister's involvement is needed. The Prime Minister's convening power is needed at this point, and that is one thing the Meitei and the Kuki people do agree on. That
Everyone, the Meitei and we both.
Yes,
But
exactly.
that is subject to the Prime Minister taking interest and not showing the indifference that he has been showing till date for the last 3 months. I'm saying that I mean it. As a Prime Minister, he should have done it on the first few days of the issue, not after 3 months when he's called in the Parliament for some excuse of no confidence motion. That is subject to the Prime Minister having some interest to this region, and he shows it physically to the people. Yes, you mean something to me, and I'm going to do this for you.
I hope that intervention comes now, though you have said that you would have wanted it to come earlier. Colonel Singh, thank you. Colonel Singh is the working president of a panel to ask for scheduled tribe status for the Meitei people. He's a military veteran, but also a prominent community leader from the Meitei community in Manipur. Thank you, sir, for talking to us, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.